The anime starts us off with the girl humming a song on a rooftop. She tells us that everybody has a wish they want to fulfill, and to do so, they have to enter a fight. Suddenly, the scene changes and we see a boy who doesn't know where he is. Placed in front of the boy is a giant tower. It's here we see the girl from the beginning who receives a message. When she sees it, she realizes that she has a notification from Rebuild that says she has 1 week to present herself, and she says that she needs to find something important. Then, we see a blonde-haired girl running, being pursued by a man, and after a few moments, the man takes out a card that creates an explosion. Fortunately, the girl also had a card that created some kind of magic barrier to prevent her from getting hurt, which allows her to be able to escape. Then she finds the boy we saw previously, and he takes her by the hand in an attempt to be heroic. The man, seemingly angry about this, asks the girl to hand over her chip. The boy gets closer and notices that the man stepped onto the bread heap and tells him that he's an idiot. Then, the man takes out a knife and tries to attack him. But with his card, the boy manages to cut off his knife. We see that there is some kind of skull demon behind the boy. After this confrontation, the girl buys him more bread, and she says that he's strong. He responds saying that he didn't know what the card is, and he didn't even notice when and how it got in his hand. The girl is surprised hearing that, and tries to analyze him with her eye. But when she sees that there's nothing wrong, she gets up and says that she will explain. It's here that she says that the cards are named Build Divide, and that they are needed to survive and to fill your wish. The boy still doesn't fully understand, so the girl takes him to an open space. She takes a flying robot out and asks for a fight request. All the surroundings transform into a futuristic stadium. It's here that she tells him that this is a card battle, and that each one of the cards has mysterious powers. She says that each battle is played with 40 cards and 1 Dominion card, a total of 41 cards. After saying all that, the battle begins and the girl takes out her Dominion card called Laura. The boy does the same and takes out his card and activates his Dominion called Bloom. It's here the girl introduces herself as Sakura and the boy introduces himself as Karabe. She also tells him that he goes first and he has to place 1 card into the energy zone. She tells him that there are different cards, colors, and costs. Karabe sees his cards and ends up placing 1 card into the zone. Lastly, Sakura says that the battle ends when somebody runs out of energy or all of the stars are broken. So the battle begins. Karabe uses a card named Nadia to attack Sakura. It attacks and then Sakura loses a star. Sakura says that she let him do it so he could see how it works, but now she is going for real. Then Sakura takes out a card called Moonlight Rabbit and sends it to attack Nadia, quickly eliminating it. Karabe takes out another card fast called Croupier and attacks the rabbit, beating it. And we see Sakura losing another star. She tells him that the rabbit's ability is to send all of its amount of life to the energy zone. So now she can use an even more powerful card, so she takes out a value 5 card, which lets her Dominion card use some kind of giant weapon. The zone changes completely and a base appears behind her. Sakura activates the power of her Dominion and copycats 2 of the opponent's card. Then her Dominion attacks Karabe card, taking it out. Karabe is astonished about it. He sees his Dominion and in that moment, he gets a blurred memory. Then he takes out a card and activates the abilities of his Dominion. And when he's about to choose the ability, he has some sort of premonition, so he uses that card. Sakura also activates a card and sends her Dominion to attack again, since her card can block Karabe's card, so he can't use it. With that attack, Karabe loses 4 stars in total. This time, he has another strong headache, but this time, a mysterious man talks to him saying that he can't lose. And in that moment, he starts to remember some more things. Karabe pulls up his hood and says that he has to defeat the king and starts picking his cards and placing them in zones. These ones make Bloom, his Dominion, transform, taking a weapon out, 2 giant statues, and a giant clock behind him. These cards eliminate the one Sakura had and also activates a Black Knight that attacks Sakura. That surprises her and she asks him if this is not the first time he's played. But when she sees that Karabe doesn't answer, she starts her turn. Sakura takes 2 cards and 2 towers out since one of her cards has the copycat ability. These cards shoot and eliminates the Black Knight. Sakura asks Karabe if he knows how to defeat the king, since she also wants to do so. She also tells him that he only has 2 stars and she has 6. And in that moment, she takes out a card called Sophia, sending it to attack Karabe's Dominion. In this moment, Karabe has another vision, specifically about the king. and activates Bloom's abilities fast, using an explosion card that makes Bloom's power increase to 10,000. He ends up defeating Sakura's card since Sophia had a power of just 9,000. Here, Kurabe sends his card to attack Sakura, making her lose 3 stars, leaving her with only 3. Sakura realizes that she can't win with the cards she has, but she takes out a card called Laura anyway, even though she wanted to take Bloom out first, but she can't because it has too many power points. When Sakura sees Bloom, she says that she is a witch with the ability of reviving death units. As it's Kurabe's turn, he uses the ability and takes out a card called Riverwort, which eliminates Laura easily. Then he sends it to attack Sakura, making her lose 3 stars, winning the battle. As the battle rings away, Sakura says to herself that she found the right one, and then she invited him to eat. She also tells him how to beat the king. She says that there is a special battle where he can challenge the king, but to do so, he needs 21 key tokens. And when he says he has the key, he could ask for a wish. Kurabe says that he doesn't have any wishes. Then Sakura says that her wish is to battle the king. She asks Kurabe to take her to him. Kurabe accepts, and Sakura registers him as an official contender. Then they go to where Kurabe lives, and Sakura asks if he studies or something. But Kurabe doesn't know if he goes to school or not because he doesn't remember. He doesn't even remember what city he's in. There, Sakura explains to him that they're in a city called New Kyoto. In this city, Build Dive runs politics, economy, and even people's destiny. She says that if you're good enough in Build Divide, you have privileges, but if you're not, they send you to another district, and that the king was the one who created all of this. After that, they go for a walk in the city, and Sakura talks about him being a new contender. In his eyes, he could see if there are more contenders in the area, or even see the other people's statistics. But Kurabe still doesn't remember anything. Suddenly, a girl Kurabe knows appears and thanks to Sakura for bringing him back, so she takes him back to class. In school, a girl sees Kurabe and realizes that he's now a contender. And after class, Sakura says there are some contenders in the school that he may want to be worried about. It's then that we meet the girl who is looking at Kurabe before and introduces herself as Hiyori. She says that she wants to battle Kurabe, and he accepts. The girl bets 1 token, but Kurabe says he will bet 3. Sakura is surprised about that, and she tells him to be careful since those are the only ones he had. And if he loses them, he could not be a contender anymore. The battle zone is created, and Hiyori summons a card called Douglark, and Kurabe takes out Bloom. Hiyori attacks fast and takes out an explosion card, making Kurabe lose 1 star. Kurabe's turn comes around, and he takes out a card called Nadia. He sends it to attack Hiyori, and she loses a star. Hiyori retaliates by sending out a Celestial Swordman and other cards, and they attack Kurabe, making him lose stars. Kurabe takes out a card called Venya and uses another copycat card, so Venya gets duplicated, and then they attack Hiyori's cards. She's surprised by that and takes out a card to provide abilities to her minion, which gives Douglark armor and a sword. Douglark then strikes a powerful attack, which changes the entire territory to fit Douglark. When Kurabe sees this, he takes out a wizard card, which makes Douglark lose all of his power points, and sends Nadia to attack Hiyori again, making her lose stars. In her turn, Hiyori summons various cards. One of them takes out Nadia, and the other attacks Kurabe, taking away one of his stars. Kurabe instantly takes out a missile and attacks Hiyori's card. There, he puts his hood on and says that he will play for real. He takes out a card that activates Bloom's abilities and also activates his territory, which attacks Hiyori's cards and Hiyori herself. When she realizes what's happening, she gets nervous and uses a card on her turn that sends Bloom to the deck again, and then uses another card to eliminate Kurabe's troop. But Hiyori's plans didn't work out as she was expected, because Kurabe uses another stealing card and brings Bloom back, which revives some of the cards that died, and they attack Hiyori, making her be with only 1 star. Hiyori takes out 2 cards, and one of them rises Douglark's power, and the other attacks Bloom, taking it out. Kurabe takes a card called Riverwort and uses its ability, which takes 6,000 points away from the opponent's attack. With this, Douglark is taken down and then attacks strongly, making Hiyori lose the last star. And with this, Kurabe wins. Hiyori gets sad and starts to cry because she has always lived in the outer district alone, since her parents died when she was little, and because she won some battles, she made it out of the outer district, and now she has to beat the king to fulfill her dreams. Karabe tells her that her dream will never come true, and that makes Hiyori sad. But Hiyori asks to become Karabe's apprentice. Karabe says nothing in return, but Hiyori accepts that as a yes. The next day, they go to a place they heard of where there's a group of people who bets tokens. They enter the place and so many contenders appear to be there, and Sakura sees that everyone there has lost their token. Then, they go to another place and see a lot of people protesting. After a few moments, everyone gets separated and Karabe meets a boy. Sakura also meets with another boy called Ishinome. Sakura asks him if he knows anything about the people who took all the contenders' tokens away. Ishinome gives her an envelope with all the information about that person. Sakura reads it and realizes that there's a person called Enju, and they seem to have all the tokens. On the other hand, Enju feels a bit curious about Karabe, so he follows him to his house. It's soon he realizes that Karabe is homeless. Finding out that he lives in a tent, Karabe tells him not to worry because he doesn't care about living like that. Enju says that he hates how society is because the ones who are not good at Build Divide are forced to live in the outer district, and nobody cares about the weak. He says that he will beat the king. By that night, Enju receives a call from Sakura. She says that she knows everything about him, where he lives, how old he is, even his blood type. And she also says that she knows about his brothers. Enju gets mad when he hears that and asks who she is. Sakura says that she wants to battle him. On the other hand, Karabe is with Hiyori, contemplating in landscape, and after a moment Enju arrives, he shows Karabe his 7 tokens. And as soon as Karabe sees these tokens, Karabe challenges him. Enju accepts, and both bet 4 tokens, and the battle begins. Enju takes out his deck of cards and summons his dominion called Lionel. Rapidly, Karabe takes out his dominion called Bloom, Sakura, and Hiyori to arrive at the moment Hiyori says that Enju is very angry with Karabe and asks if she knows something. Sakura says that she doesn't know anything. In this battle, Enju loses 4 stars and Karabe none. Enju gets even angrier and he summons the abilities of his dominion and territory. Enju explains that his territory gives his units 3,000 attack and sends Lionel to attack one of Karabe's units. Taking it away, but Lionel keeps attacking and Sakura seems to be very impressed by that. Enju states that Lionel's ability is that if he wins a battle, he can keep attacking. And then Lionel keeps going until it eliminates every one of Karabe's units. Then attacks Karabe himself, taking 3 stars away from him. Karabe does his usual thing and puts on his hood, saying that he won't let anybody get in his way. It's here he activates Bloom's abilities and also activates his territory. He sends Nadia to attack Enju, taking one of his stars away from him. Now, it's Enju's turn, and sends Lionel to attack Bloom, but both of them are very equal since both of them have the same power. In the next turn, Karabe gets a card that gives Bloom 5,000 power. When Enju sees this, he gets a card that elevates Lionel's power even more, and finally taking down Bloom and leaving Karabe with only 4 stars. In Karabe's turn, he uses his territory ability and eliminates each one of Enju's units. And then he gets out the Black Knight. Enju in his mind says that he cannot lose, and he starts reminding himself. He takes out a card that can revive Lionel and sends it to attack Karabe directly, taking stars from him. But there was a skeleton demon inside Karabe's deck, so Lionel is eliminated after. Karabe, in his turn, gets a card that can revive the dead, so he revives Lionel and sends it to attack Enju's units. And then, with the Black Knight, he attacks Enju directly, leaving him with no stars. Karabe ends up winning the battle and gets 4 more tokens. Enju accepts the defeat and tells him that he would get better and he wants to change the city. Karabe says that if he doesn't live in the city, he can go elsewhere. Everyone hearing this gets surprised. Hiyori thinks that he is joking and says that outside of the city of Kyoto there's nothing. Karabe's in shock to hear that. And then Sakura says that he has 8 tokens and that there are only 4 left so he can get to the king. The next day, Hiyori asks Karabe if he could train her since she wants to be as strong as he is. Karabe rejects her, but then she offers him a lot of bread, and he ends up accepting. On the other hand, we see Enoshima, saying that he's tired of reading so much, and at that moment, a girl approaches him and says that she wants to see Karabe. Enoshima says that that's a problem because if Mario knows about that, he would be pissed. But then she threatens him, so he takes her to Karabe and ends up accepting. Then, we see Karabe's group in the park, and the girl from before arrive and start talking to him. She says that if he can defeat her, she would give him some baked bread, and instantly all the surroundings change. Hiyori asks Karabe where they are, and when the girl sees her, she gets mad and pushed her into a wall. Karabe accepts the duel and takes out Bloom. The girl also takes out her dominion called Margeria. We see that Enoshima is watching everything and sends a distraction to Sakura so she doesn't get involved into the duel. After that, Karabe and the girl battle for a while, and after a keen look at her, he starts to remember but he doesn't pay attention and goes on with the battle. Then the girl activates her Dominion's ability and as well as her territory and sends her cards to attack Karabe. She starts to smile and says that he's the only one who can entertain her. Karabe asked how she knows his name because he can't recall ever telling her. She seems hurt by this and asks if he doesn't remember anything in all the times that they went through. At that moment, Karabe starts remembering and says that he knows the girl, but his memories were still blurred. The girl starts attacking and asks why he came back, and she tells him that she's the only one that could be his friend. Karabe ends up being with only 1 star, and we see that Shinome is enjoying all of this. Then Karabe remembers that he wants to defeat the king, and he revives Bloom, gets the Black Knight out, and sends it to attack the enemy cards. The girl sees this and gets so happy that she cries, and says that he's always been like that. They attack each other with their cards, but the girl ends up winning all the rounds, and she strikes the final blow. In that moment, the girl's mask breaks, the zone disappears, and everything goes back to normal. Hiyori is surprised to see the girl's face. It says that Karabe that she's amazed by the fact that he knows Rika, because the one that he is so eager to get to is her. Rika is the king. It's at this point that Sakura arrives, and Ishinome and Rika leave the place. Karabe is still in shock about the fact that Rika is the king, and there he reveals to everyone that she is his little sister. The next day, Hiyori and Sakura sees that Karabe is depressed about losing his little sister. On the other hand, we see Rika battling another contender, and this one has the same cards Karabe has. Turns out he also has a bloom. Rika ends up defeating him, and we can see that it was a puppet. Then Mario appears and she says that the puppet is very interesting and she wanted to fight Karabe. Mario tells her that she'll just have to wait for him to come to her in order to fight him again. After that, he calls her servant called Limp to take Rika to bed. We see a lot of cables surrounding her body, and finally, Rika goes to sleep. Mario reaches Ishinome and calls him out for taking Rika to Karabe the other day and says that this could interfere with his plans. Ishinome tells him not to worry, since if Mario wants his dream to come true, Rika has to become stronger. After saying this, he says that he's going fishing. On the other hand, Sakura and Hiyori are trying to cheer up Karabe and tells him to get ready to find another contender. Sakura asks if he doesn't want to battle the king anymore, and when Karabe hears that, he just leaves the place without saying a word. Then Sakura and Hiyori go to a restaurant, and when they're eating, Sakura asks Hiyori if she thinks Karabe is weird. She also says that she can't believe that the king is his little sister. And it is weird, because since the moment she met him, he doesn't remember a thing. He didn't even know that what Build Divide is, and couldn't recognize the city of Kyoto. And also the time when Karabe asked why not to leave the outskirts of Kyoto. Hiyori doesn't care too much about it and says that Karabe is a very careless boy. Sakura says that she's right, and she remembers something. On the other hand, we see that Karabe is fishing with Ishinome, and he says that he seems to be worried. He also says that when he sees him, he can feel that he's afraid to lose. Karabe tries to deny it, and he has a flashback to when he lost his sister. Then we see Sakura, who tells Hiyori to reveal Karabe's location so he could be a target for other contenders, so he could recover his confidence and fight again. Hiyori doesn't necessarily like this idea, and she believes that he may need some more time to recover. But Sakura doesn't listen, and she reveals Karabe's location to every contender in the city. Then we see that Karabe remembers when he was a kid, and he used to play Build Divided with Rika, but she always ended up winning all the matches. Rika was the only one Karabe could never beat. After a while, Hiyori arrives with Sakura, and they see that Karabe is still fishing. Sakura gets mad with him and throws all the fish into the river. There, Hiyori asks Karabe if he didn't see any contenders trying to fight him. Karabe says yes and hands over the tokens that Sakura has. And when she counts them, she sees that he won 3 more tokens for a total of 11. Karabe says that he has not lost his path and he plans to beat the king. Sakura asks him to promise that since she is betting everything on Karabe. Karabe, of course, says yes. Then we see a man called Dario, who asks Enju if he's the one beating all of his students. Enju says yes, and one of Dario's students gets close to him and challenges him to a battle. After that, Enju wakes up in a room and notices that Hiyori, Sakura, and Karabe are all in the same room as him. Sakura says that they are in her house and he has nothing to worry about. They're safe. She also tells him that Karabe found him lying in front of his tent and brought him there. Hiyori asked Enju what happened to him, and he says he had a battle. Enju says that he battled the ones he was looking for and talked about Dario. He has beaten all of his students, but Dario's strategy was to observe how his battles were so he could anticipate his plays. So Dario ended up beating him. Enju also says that Dario kidnaps people to experiment with them. When Karabe's group hears about that, they decide to look out for Dario to take revenge for what he did to Enju. They go to Dario's laboratory and pose as people who are interested in studying in his lab. Dario talks to them and offers them some coffee, but we see that when he tries to hand them coffee to Sakura, the cup of coffee goes through her hands and falls. Dario sends one of his students to give them a tour through the place. He tells them that they study magic medicine and that he believes Build Divide is not just for battling and that it can be used for medicine as well. Then Hiyori realizes that Sakura is no longer with them, so Kurabe takes out a card and leaves Dario's student unconscious. After a while, Enju arrives and they tell him that Sakura was kidnapped. At that moment, Hiyori stumbles and they discover a secret place. They enter the place and see a lot of people on their stretchers. At that moment, Dario starts to talk through a speaker, and he says that he has Sakura, and if they don't want anything bad to happen to her, they shouldn't resist. So he sends his students to capture them. The group is surrounded, and Kurabe says that he's going to rescue Sakura, so he takes out a card that creates a hole in the floor to escape the place. On the other hand, we see that Dario has Sakura tied up. He says that she's a special girl, and he is excited to start experimenting with her. But Kurabe arrives and challenges Dario to a duel. He accepts, and Kurabe bets 11 of his tokens. Dario says that he wants to become king to change the world with magic medicine, and then he takes out Rebecca's territory and sends it to attack Kurabe, making him lose 2 stars. Kurabe, in his turn, also takes out his Dominion's territory and sends the Black Knight to attack Dario's units. We see that Dario's Dominion's ability is to steal the opponent's cards and use them to attack Kurabe, leaving him with just 2 stars. Then, Kurabe uses Bloom's ability and he revives his dead cards, so he sends them to attack, defeating all enemy cards, blowing 3 stars out of Dario. This also sends all the enemy dead cards back to the deck. Then, Kurabe sends all of his cards to attack and ends up breaking all Dario's stars, defeating him. Then Sakura thanks Kurabe for saving her, and he says that he needs to do something for her since she is always taking care of him. Then, we see Dario again, who receives a call from Mario saying that he is useless for him now. Suddenly, some puppets appear and attack Dario. The next day, Hiyori shows Sakura a hotel on the beach. She says that it was opened not too long ago, and asks if she wants to see the sea. Sakura says that she had only read it in novels. Hiyori says that the installation mimics the sea, which only exists in fiction. Sakura, seeing how excited Hiyori is, says that they are going. The next day, the group goes to the beach hotel, and they have fun in the sea the whole day. Then an idol appears and starts her show in the middle of the sea, and everyone there is surprised by how good the girl sings. Then Sakura gets across her, and they fight over the last tropical drink left. She introduces herself as Miharu, and they both decide to have a duel. But Sakura ends up winning easily, since Miharu didn't have any experience in Build Divide battles. The next day, Kurabe goes to the bakery, and he gets along with the owner. She tells him that he and Rika always liked the bread, and they both were inseparable, and she shows him a photo of when they were little. She says that they have to separate because of a problem their parents had. Then Kurabe leaves the place, and after a few moments he finds Ishinome. Kurabe asks what he wants, but Ishinome doesn't answer. Suddenly, the whole place changes, and Kurabe sees that he is still in his room when he was little and Rika's there. Then, his body transforms like when he was a little boy. There, Rika asks Kurabe to play Build Divide. They both start playing, and we see that Rika doesn't know how to play the game. Kurabe says that he always used to teach Rika how to play and always win. But suddenly, it transforms into a real battle, and Rika starts her attack. Kurabe tries to defend, but ends up losing. She gets pretty happy for winning, but you see a very depressed Kurabe for losing. At that moment, Ishinome shows Kurabe what happened after. We see that after that day, Rika continued to win, and Kurabe got angry and stopped playing with her. Rika asked Kurabe to play with her every day, but he started to ignore her. After a few days, Rika's hair changed, and they got separated because of their parents. Before she goes, Rika asks Kurabe to play with her for one last time, and he accepts and says that they will play tomorrow. The next day, Rika couldn't find her cards, and we see that Kurabe had taken them all. And that's how it ends. Ishinome brings Kurabe back to the present. After remembering the past, Kurabe goes to the place he hid Rika's cards, and he found them. He says that he was always bad at this story. By night, Kurabe returns and he meets with Sakura and Hiyori. They were very surprised to see that Kurabe was out fighting, and only come back with 3 tokens. On the other hand, we see that Mario is excited, and that he is expecting Kurabe. Then his servant says that Rika's time is over. Ishinome is watching all of this. The next day, Kurabe meets a boy named Saiki. Sakura tells Kurabe not to underestimate him, since he is also 1 token away to battle the king. The battle starts and they both bet all of their tokens. Saiki summons his dominion called Vertiga, and Kurabe takes Bloom out. After a few moments, Sakura says that the battle is tied, and at the moment Saki takes his dominion territory out, and they both start to fight for real. Kurabe ends up defeating him and getting all 12 tokens to challenge the king, and suddenly all the tokens transform into a key. Then he gives the key to Sakura, and she says that she finally could fulfill her wish. She says goodbye to Hiyori and Kurabe and uses the key to go to the king. Then she tells us that she is like Kurabe. She also says that when she woke up, she didn't remember anything, not even who she was. Then Ishinome appeared and told her that she was Sakura and gave her everything she has now. But later she realized that she was different from the others since she was the only one who never was hungry or sleepy. Ishinome tells her not to worry, that she defeated the king, but her wish was half fulfilled, and tells her that she is not the real one. She is just a soul. She asks where her body is, but Ishinome tells her that he can't help her. Sakura starts to get upset and says that she's not human, but after that, she decides to face the king so she could have another wish and recover her body and memory. Ishinome gives her 3 tokens, and Sakura says that she will find someone who can help her. One day, she found Kurabe. She knew he was the one fit to find the 12 tokens. On the other hand, Inju found out that Sakura betrayed Kurabe and Hiyori and is very upset. After some time thinking, Kurabe stands up and says that he wants to help Sakura, because even if she defeats the king, her wish won't become a reality. It's here that Kurabe reveals he already defeated the king once. Then we see that Sakura has reached the king's place. Rika is pretty disappointed that Kurabe hasn't come. Sakura challenges her to a duel, and Rika accepts, so they start fighting. After a few moments, Sakura notices that Rika is not attacking her. She's just placing cards into her deck, so she demands why he is doing this. Rika asks if it was fun to spend time with Kurabe, and she starts telling them everything she likes about him. Sakura agrees, and she gets mad because, according to Rika, nobody could know him better than her. At that moment, she starts to play for real, and she activates her Dominion's territory and attacks her. Then Sakura counterattacks and takes a star out of Rika, leaving her with only 2 stars. Rika starts saying to Sakura that she is just a simple doll born out of her image. Rika tells Sakura that she will never have her wish come true. She will never have her body. Sakura responds by saying that she already knows this, since she noticed that she's different from the others, and maybe her destiny is just to disappear, but she doesn't want to give up. Then Kurabe arrives with Enju and Hiyori, with the help of Ishinome. Kurabe tells Sakura to stop the fight, but she insists that she wants to recover her body, since without her body she thinks that she is not real. Kurabe says that, for him, she is real. Rika is very angry with her, and that she uses her dominion to destroy Sakura's last star, defeating her. Sakura says thanks to Kurabe for staying with her until the end, and she fades away. Hiyori starts to cry, and then we see Rika recovering her other half and becoming stronger. Kurabe, infuriated, challenges Rika to a duel. She accepts, but when the battle is about to start, we see a memory of Kurabe that shows us when he defeats the king 3 years ago. Suddenly, he woke up in a place he didn't recognize. The robot attending him says that he is in Kyoto, but he came back to that world. He doesn't understand, but then he sees that he's on a giant island. After some years, he is permitted to talk to the boss about all this. He is Mario. Says that he lost his body a long time ago. Now, he only has his conscience. Then he says that he has been watching, and that he is perfect one to introduce his conscience in. Kurabe doesn't understand what is happening and starts running, but the machines aren't following him. Then, after a few moments, he loses them. The place is so big that he ended up entering a room. There, he finds a different machine, and Kurabe asks for an explanation for all this. The machine says that this is a virtual urban system, and all the citizens are connected to cameras, and for them, a signal of their conscience is sent to the system. So, that way, they can live in a virtual city while they sleep. Kurabe gets mad since the city he was living in wasn't real. Then, the machine takes him to where the central unit that controls everything is. It explains that they use a person and the central unit needs to be changed. They select a person through Build Divide. Kurabe reaches the central unit and realizes that it's Rika, so he decides to go back to the virtual city. We go back to the present, and we see Rika and Kurabe fighting. There, Kurabe takes out his territory, but this time, it's completely different, and he starts to attack Rika, leaving her with only 3 stars. On Rika's turn, she says that she can't lose, so Karabe plays with her for all eternity. So she attacks him with her dominion, leaving Karabe with only 1 star. It's at this moment Karabe apologizes to Rika for all the damage he caused to her when they were children. And he says that he can't hate her, but he has to fight her until the end. Rika starts crying because she always thought that Karabe hated her. So they're having the battle Rika always wanted since she was only a child. Both end up having just 1 star left, and then Karabe takes out the card that he took from Rika when she was a kid, and he summons it. He uses this very card to attack Rika, making her lose her last star, so Karabe wins. Suddenly, the whole place starts to destroy, and the central unit tries to take Rika again. Karabe summons Bloom and makes it free Rika. On the other hand, Enju is with Mario, and he reveals that Mario is his father. Okay, at this point in the story, I'm already more than lost. In a scene change, the central unit tries to take Karabe now. He tells Hiyori and Rika to try to go to the real world, and everything ends up being destroyed. Then, we see Hiyori waking up, but it seems that they're still in the virtual world, and the anime ends. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and comment what's the next anime you want me to review.